Hello, welcome to VO Journey Podcast. Say hello. Gabby and Gabby and Kat here. Say hello. Say hello. I
Hello,
I think
hello.
we gotta come up with somewhat of a new beginning. No, and I guess we don't have to, but yeah, because now we're hosting this together. So we need to
Hmm.
have we all need to chime in. Maybe it could be like ding ding ding. Stupid. Like I'm here, and I'm here, and it's me. No, that's totally stupid. They're totally looking at me. If you guys can't see, like I'm an idiot. So anyway,
Never.
yeah. So today's topic is, I think, a very important one. Right? We're going to be talking about how to handle rejection
Hmm.
and picking ourselves up. We're going to kind of dive into confidence and everything. So, Kat, why don't you lead us off with this?
Sure, sure. Well, I recently heard a really great quote that got me through a piece of rejection that I've recently gone through in a role. And it said, rejection is redirection. And I just love
Hmm.
that.
Oh.
And I was like, I know it sounds kind of corny, but I really liked it because I was like, it's so true. It's like what's meant for you will be. And so I wasn't meant to have that job because potentially there's another job there waiting for me that would have clashed with that one or something like that. I think that's how I get myself through rejection anyway.
I really like that. So rejection is redirection. That's kind of what makes you think. Hmm.
It does.
I yeah, so I remember early on as an actor when I was first starting, the when you first come out of the gate, and I think probably a lot of voice actors feel that way too because they're new at what we do. You of course want to get every job that you audition for, and you hope that everything that you put out there, someone's going to also magically message you back and let you know what you did, and if they didn't go with you, they're going to give you a 3-page reason why. And I think these are things that we all hope when we first start, but the reality is it's so far from the truth. And it's kind of a hard lesson that you learn up front, and it can be very daunting, that rejection. And it's funny because we look at it as rejection, but in the reality of it is I used to say this, and that's why I learned early on, right? No matter what happens, especially when it's visual, more visual as well, right? I always said, I'm never going to play a role as a 6'4" basketball player. I'm just, unfortunately, that's not me. And that's okay because I'm me and I'm fine with that. But that doesn't mean something's wrong with my performance or how good I am at what I do. It just literally means I'm not right for that exact role. And that plays a big part in what we do as well. And I know for the casting that I'm doing, and I'd love to get your take on this too, Gabby, as well, and Kat, with you guys in your classes recently. But I know with the casting with Academy Voices, we have so many talented people who are there, but sometimes it has not. A lot of times, it's nothing to do with their ability.
Right.
A lot of times it has everything to
Mm.
do with what, in my mind, am I looking for? What strikes me as interesting for that particular moment, or the type of character I'm looking for? You know what I mean? I'm sometimes it's do you have an accent that I'm looking for? Or is it not the accent? And you could be amazing. So I do think there's levels of rejection, and that word seems to have such a negativity to it.
Mm.
So I do like the idea of redirection as opposing to that rejection sounds so daunting, like you've been rejected.
Mm.
I don't know. What do you think, Abby? I
I
mean,
think I think it's a lot of it too is how we're programmed to look at the word. Like men seem to handle rejection so much better than women do. There's a comedian that I love, Eliza Schlesinger, who talks about how, in the dating scene, it's like women feel like any little thing is like this deep rejection of their being, whereas men are just like, you want to date, you date, no, date. They just keep going because
oh,
they're just hardwired a little differently in this idea that to them, they don't see it as this devastating thing. It's just part of the process. And I think when we normalize it to just that, it's just part of the process, it takes some of that away. But yeah, it's it's such an irony of what we do, right? Like, be vulnerable, put your heart on your sleeve, do all these amazing things, but also be prepared for, people to not hire you constantly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Definitely. And it's like if it's part of the business, really, you have to see it as it's not personal, it's business. And I think
Mm.
that's something every actor has to go through, every actor or voice actor has to learn that, like, you do, yeah, it is so ironic. I love that. Like, I always think that. I'm like, what, you want me to be both emotional and like completely like made of steel? I
Well,
like I don't understand. But yeah, it's just it's business, it's not personal.
mhm.
I always think that it's completely, it's not anything about you or how good you are or how not good you are or anything like that. It's just that the casting director has a particular voice in their mind, and you
Mhm.
are either that or you are not.
Or you're not. Yep.
No, I totally agree. So I want to so I have a specific way that I deal with the situation to eliminate the feelings of rejection. And so kind of want to give that to everybody listening. So something that I do, and it actually piggybacks off of what you guys were saying about business. So what I do is I begin to look at, if we're let's just take auditioning for example. So instead of placing, if in this case, blame per se on not getting work on myself, I put blame on the system I've created to get work, right? So let me give you an example. So basically, if I say, all right, I want to get 3 voiceover jobs this week, okay, and I'm going to say then to do that, I need to do 100 auditions. Okay, because I think about 3% of my auditions, I will get a job, or I mean, out of 100, I'll get 3. So I do the 100, and do I get 3 or do I not get 3? I look at it as if I got 3, then I met my goal that I tried. If I don't get 3, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not reaching. My system isn't working. Something is not working within my system. It has nothing to do with the people, like if someone's rejecting me or someone's like doesn't like who I am. Now, I will admit, right, this comes after years of training that I've had and things like that. So there's always an exception that you'll find, how do you up those numbers? But that's the whole point. The point is, for me, this is just me, and you all can like give kind of your tips, but for me, I've tried to always move more towards systematizing my thought process, because I've always thought if I do enough, if I, do the right things that I know have predictable. So I always say we want to have repeatable processes that have predictable results. Okay. And if we do those processes and we repeat them and we are getting the predictable response, or the hopeful, the responses we want, what we're doing is working. If we're not, then there's certain things we need to tweak within those responses. The rejection part, that's not even a question of what we're doing, because we can't expect that we're ever, like, you're going to audition and have a 1-to-1.
Mm.
That's not, nowhere is that true. Okay, so that's how I kind of look at it, is more of a system. I set a goal and I look at it. I can affect this change. Now I can get into lead measures and lag measures, which I love to talk about, but I can affect something. I can try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, then my system needs to be a little bit altered. Maybe I do need a little bit more training. Maybe I do need the way I'm putting out my profile. Maybe something needs to change. Maybe I need to do a slight change with my auditioning. But the point is that I'm putting a system into place. This is how much I'm doing. This is the results. If it's not matching up, then my system needs to change some. Does that make sense? What do you guys think? Does that sound good to you?
I think I think it does make sense. I think just clarify for myself and the listeners, when you say system, what exactly do you mean when you say system?
So when I'm saying a system is exactly kind of what I was saying there was, a system is repeatable processes that produce predictable outcomes.
Okay.
Okay, so that means that something that I can do, that I create, like for example, I'm going to do 100 auditions,
Hmm.
and I've done 100 auditions, and I know that if I do 100 auditions, I'm going to get 3 jobs.
Mhm.
So I've basically created a system to say that no matter what, I know that if I do these repeatable processes, I'm going to get a predictable outcome. All right.
Mhm.
You could think of
And then
it.
if you,
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, just if you don't get that predictable outcome, then you know you need to change your system. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Got
exactly.
you. Bingo. Bingo.
Exactly.
Got
Yeah.
you. Wicked.
Yeah. And I kind of modified it. And I always tell people, bear with me because sometimes the vocabulary I use and the things that I use, I modify them to make sense to me. So, but I do think, like, if you look at McDonald's, right, the ultimate system, you go there and there's, teenagers working there, but yet the same product is produced
Mm,
all over the world. And you expect, like the expectations are the same and it works and it's incredible, despite whether you like McDonald's or not. The truth is it's an amazing system that they've built. And so I kind of look at it in a business with us, with as voice actors. We are always teetering on that freelancer employee for hire and wanting to be a business. And it's a difficult tightrope we walk, I think, because that's our challenge, because it's us, but yet we're trying to make a business too. So,
mm,
how do we sell us as a product? And
Mm.
that's why I think we in the industry, and we're actors, let's be honest, we're emotional. It's so on our sleeves. Everything is very emotional. So I try to remove personally as much of that as I can through the system that I create so that that doesn't affect me like that. It's more the system's problem, not and part of the system would be is my training, right? That's a part of the system. Am I getting training? Am I getting my training a couple times a week? Am I meeting those things? You know what I mean? I know it's almost like, I hate to say it because there's such there is the creativity that we love, but I try to break it more down into numbers.
mm-hmm.
If I post this many videos, if I do this much, am I getting these results? Am I not? That I need to change it. You know what I mean? It just makes it easier the more we go up, it seems, for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like so the method that you're describing, everything you're talking about, it's great for somebody who works well with metrics
Mm,
and who, needs that very analytical kind of, system of cogs. And I can totally understand that, and I think there's a lot of people that will relate to that. What I do on the other end of the coin, might speak to some of the slightly less analyticals in the group. I just follow the philosophical know thyself. The better I know and understand my skills as an actor and what I offer and what I bring, the less likely I am to audition for roles that are wrong for me,
mm,
which reduces the amount of rejection because then I'm really, really targeting in on, right. I always say it's the difference between, being on a pay to play and competing against 200 people for an audition and competing against five,
mm,
because obviously you're significantly reducing the level of rejection when you're one of just a small little handful that's being considered to begin with. And I do think that that's such an important part of that idea of personal branding and what we do to really create um, our own marketability in this
Mm.
industry.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. And I'm going to go on another end of some sort of spectrum, and I'm going to talk about emotions.
there you go.
So I think I do some and some of all of that, what you guys have just said. I think I need to do more of what you're saying with the system, Anthony, actually. I think that will help me in a lot of ways because I don't think I do much. I'm not a very analytical person, though, to be fair. But I think one of the things that's helped me kind of get through stuff is actually allowing myself to like be sad about it for like a minute, especially if it was a role I was up for that, I've had a recall and then I'm like so close and I really wanted it and then you don't get it. I totally allow myself to have like a little cry. I
Mm.
allow myself to like feel it rather than being, because I've done the opposite where I've gone, well, I don't care. Where inside I really do. I really do care because I care about my job. I care about, I'm passionate about it. Of course I care. So I tried at the beginning of my career to be like, it's not going to bother me. It's just going to roll past me and I don't care. But really, I do. So I have to, for me personally, I have to like feel the feelings and then I go, okay, I've had my cry. I've had, I've done, I've got it all out of my system. Now what can I do to move forward? And there might be, I don't know, there might be people out there who feel like that as well. And I just think it's okay to feel sad about it, but you can't stay stuck in the sadness. And you can't let it stop you from putting yourself out there again and again and again and again and again. Really.
I feel like this is like one of the healthiest conversations I've had in a while. Like, we got so there's a really good points of view. You know what I mean? I mean, and I think there's I almost feel like putting all of them together is also a great idea, right?
Mm.
Um, I love that. So I think, and the reason why I think to say this to everybody listening is that you're going to. So when I work with people, I guess for me and how the system came about, or when I talk about that, is I always feel like I want. Maybe it's a teacher in me. I always want to give applicable steps to someone. What could you actually physically do to get through something or to get something done? Do you know what I mean? So much of what we go through because we're actors and we're creatives is philosophy. It's important. Yes, we wear our. It's important to be sensitive because I think sensitivity is a very valuable asset for voice actors. We have to be able to show emotion when we need to show it,
Yeah.
which also drives some of us crazy. But that's a part of what we do. Is be able to show emotion. But I think that being able to say, hey, this is something you can do, and you do A, B, C, D, that does, you're right, that does help some people. And other people, though, need to look at it from your point of view, Gabby. And I think all of us could, your point of view, Kat, because I know sometimes like, oh, I really would have liked to do that, but I didn't get a chance to do it. And be like, well, let's move on to the next one. And so you got to kind of do both.
Yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard too, because depending on the role or what it is, like I know for me, like in the commercial world, things move so fast. I don't have time to always, give myself the emotional moment like Kat's talking about. But then what'll happen is usually like, and look, the unpredictability of the industry. If sometimes 3 days after I auditioned for something, I'll hear the thing. Like I'll hear the commercial, I'll see the commercial, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that didn't happen. And then other times, right, huge stretches, like weeks can go by, and I'm like, well, okay, there's no way I booked that. And then you get a call. So there's always
Mm.
that roller coaster of emotions in this business. It's wild.
What are some things? So I get a lot of questions from voice actors. I know I mentioned it early on, but I want to get y'all's take on this. I get a lot of questions about, you know, should I be receiving feedback? Why can't I just like, why won't like no one will contact me or tell me why I'm not getting hired? This sort of thing. What am I doing wrong? Do I need to do something different? I just want some sort of feedback from
Mm,
these people I'm auditioning for. I'd love to hear y'all's take on that because I think that's I'm sure you guys get asked that question too, or we see it a
mhm.
lot. These people just won't tell us anything. So I just kind of want to chat about that.
It's not their job.
I
That
was literally going to say the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That's our job.
right. That's
If you
really how
want, if you want feedback, come to a coach.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the casting director isn't there to give you feedback. They're there to cast the job.
Mhm. Now, I will say there's some companies, right, who have found ways to sort of like merge that process now. Like this is very popular in LA. It has been for a while, where you can have a casting director, coach, studio, like almost like it's a little combo, and you can sort of audition for something in real time and receive feedback from the casting director at the same time, but you pay a premium for this.
I would bet. Wow.
Like you pay a
Because they have to do it live time while you're doing it.
yes. So you
That's
pay
hard.
this so really you're then paying to audition, which makes me go,
Right.
how is that not just a new, like a premium version of the pay to play model? And it kind of sucks for those of us who aren't in LA because that opportunity is not extended.
Right.
So,
Right.
you know,
It isn't
Yeah.
that, that's an interesting, thing to, because I was thinking it from the casting director standpoint to have to be doing that live. That's hard. That would seem hard
mm-hmm.
to do
Not
that.
really. I mean, LA is the
I
home of the booth director. You
Mm.
know, they love their booth directors. So I feel like it's a little more attainable there. It's a little easier. They're kind of set up for it. But yeah, the average project, a client, that's just not their responsibility
Yeah.
to handhold and to do all of that. Because you have to think about the sheer volume, even on a small project now, 15 to 20 people are auditioning minimum. And then on the bigger stuff, you know, you could have hundreds. Like, who the hell has that kind of time to go through and personalize feedback for every single person that responds? There's no way.
Yeah. I think it's about managing your expectations, really, isn't it? It's like expect
Yeah.
to not be responded to, and then if you
Right.
get a response, that is a bonus.
Yeah.
But don't expect it, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think that's yes. Yes.
yeah.
Because
It
it's
sounds harsh, but it's just like you
Yeah.
have to kind of get used to it, really.
Mhm.
And it is like when you first join, I do get it. Like when you first join the industry, it can be, you know, scary, I'm sure, to not be used to that, to always be used to like that communication, depending on what your background and where you come from. But I get that it can be scary, but you know, if you persevere and get through it, you will get used to it.
Mhm.
And like I say, you're looking in the wrong place for feedback, really. That's really it's not the right place.
No, I think so because of that, it's important, I think, to note that, that's not part of the rejection. I mean, it's not like these people are sticking it to you by not even communicating with you, right? Like, so it's like it's easy to see, you could feel like a double whammy, not only did I didn't get the job, no one even talked to me, they hate me that bad. That's just not, because you got to think, it's not just the auditions, they also have a whole project to finish. And I know a little bit more about that now, because when we're publishing and stuff, the audition process is extremely important in that work. But once that's done, there's so much to do. So that's just one part of a whole project. So that's why they don't have a lot of time also to just be giving feedback to everybody, because they're doing all the other stuff that comes with that project. You know what I mean? So that's definitely. Now, I did want to kind of go into one thing that I see happen, is that I do think, and it's wonderful, and I love it when we get feedback. It's important, I think, to make sure we know who's giving us the feedback, and to take into consideration the experience of the feedback that we're getting. I've seen so many really amazing, well-meaning people who, bless their hearts, maybe haven't even gotten a voiceover job yet, but they love to help and to give their opinion. And I say this in a manner, right, because they really are. These are nice people who are trying to help. But from an experience standpoint, I see it and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't give that. That's not what they should be working on, coming from an experience standpoint. So I do think it's important. Make sure when you are looking, and I know you ladies probably have some interesting stories, but look at where that feedback's coming from. So don't, just because we're not getting it from the source, be careful where you go get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
There's one of the things that I always see a lot is the variations in the genres of voiceover, because you can even have within coaches, right? You can have a piece of feedback come from somebody whose background is TV promo.
Right.
And if they're critiquing the work of somebody doing an audiobook, I'm the first person to go, why? You have no skin in this game. You shouldn't even be telling this person what they're doing right or wrong, because it's not what you do all day. It's a completely different area of the industry. And we see it a lot where people kind of cross. I mean, then I see the talent, the poor voice actors, like they're so confused. They're just like, well, this person told me this and this person told me this. And it's like, hang on a second. You have to, like, which feedback is valuable to you based on your desired outcome and the area of the industry you want to be in, because the rest you can put aside. Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think we've all probably gotten situations where someone has come to us and they've said so and so, they've, heard such and from so and so. And it's like, and again, and it's important I say this because 99% of the time, again, these are all people who are not, like, they didn't wake up and say, I'm going to give all these people bad advice today. That's
Right.
not
No.
so these aren't bad people. They're good people, but it's important to know where the advice, like, what experience is backing up that advice. Do you know what I mean? And, does that person have, like you just said, skin in the game? I've coached a lot of people over the years, and interestingly enough, I've met a few who literally have been people who are coaching also, who, and I don't know, we don't have to get into the coaching scene, but that are coaching who don't actually do voiceovers. And so research the people too. Research us. I mean, research the people that you work with or so you know what they actually do.
Well, look, it doesn't even, we can use any metaphor analogy for this outside of it. Like, you coach your son's football team. Well, okay, but if somebody said, "Hey, Anthony, I want you to come coach the soccer match," you'd be like, "What?" Like,
right, exactly. Yeah, it's not my field, right? It's not my sport.
Literally, not my field.
Oh, yeah.
So those are the things we have to keep in mind. I mean, the other thing I think that doesn't get talked enough about, are you seeking feedback or are you seeking validation? Because they're two different things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That is a good point. Yeah. Because feedback it depends on the person you ask for feedback. Some people are just going to tell you everything to correct, but that doesn't mean you didn't do anything good in it. There's a difference. And some people are going to give you the old good, bad, good. That's what I tend to do when I give feedback. That's my style. Because I think that's what works for me, and that's what makes me feel comfortable as a coach. But some people are just you're gonna go to someone for feedback, and it's not gonna be what you thought it was gonna be. You can't let that put you off, and I think, and if it has put you off, it's because, like Gabby said, you're looking for validation. And it's just, it's not the right place to be looking for validation either.
No, and when it comes to validation, I think where people get really kind of they can get they get their panties in a twist is when you're seeking validation and a coach focuses on the negative or focuses on the things you've done wrong, it's because, well, effectively that's what you've paid for, right? We're here to tell you what's not working. We're not here to tell you you're amazing. Then what's the point? Like, we're so people are gonna focus in on the things that need improvement, but then it can be upsetting because again, you're
It is. You're right. I do think it thick skin.
I think if you're getting upset about that, then you need to take a look at your ego, because I think it's getting in the way, and you have to be honest with yourself about it. We've all had I'm sure all of us in here have had times when we're like, I just want to be validated, like right at the start of our careers as well, I'm sure. That is the time when the ego gets in the way so much. But you have to put yourself into check, and you have to go, okay, this feedback isn't because I'm bad, it's because I need to improve so that I can get the jobs I want.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start, it's all about the reframing it in your mindset as well. Mindset is so huge within our industry. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
humongous. It gets you through the good and the bad times.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love this. I think that is. I really like that feedback or validation. So I think a lot of times, me personally, I'm like, look what I have done. Please, do you see it, right? Everybody sees it, right? It's good. It's good. I mean, that should be like a bumper sticker. I say I'm on my car. Look what I have done, please. I mean, I do think that is inherent for actors,
It's
though. That
so
is so
funny.
we
Yeah.
battle. When you talked about mindset, Cat, you're right. We battle this sort of thing. That's normal,
Mm.
everyone. We battle. At least I know we battle these feelings. I mean, look, if you now, I would say as voice actors, it is a little. It's easier for us to we're by ourselves. But coming from an acting background, I love being in front of people, and I seek that attention. I like it. So, because so when I don't get it, I'm kind of like, please look at me, someone. Because but that's probably just because I have that sort of personality where some people have not that. But yeah, it's a battle that we fight, and that mindset
Yeah.
matters. How you deal with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, and two, there's nothing wrong with being honest in the seeking. Like
Hmm.
like it doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't necessarily have to be my career, but like if I will literally go, did I do good? Did I like
Yeah.
I'm like a kid. Like I want my pat on the head. Like please,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. But I think that that's it. It's asking for it and knowing where
Mm.
to receive it versus yeah, when it's a feedback based situation. But you're so right.
Yeah.
It just cracks me up. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
yeah, it's just something that's which is probably why I love the stage so much. It's such a
Mm.
personally,
Yeah.
and also why I think for me personally, I love this. I love doing this with you all. I love talking to people personally. So going back to know yourself and making like a full 360 with this,
Mm.
right? Is it knowing yourself and setting yourself up in the right community of people to know where you're getting what feedback where. It's good to have people who are there to validate you, but it's also good to have people who are there to say, yeah, not so much. We need to work on this so that we can get better.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult, especially early on, to know where you need work because you don't know what you don't know at all.
Hmm.
And you can't even
Mm.
tell. I mean, early on, I couldn't even. I really didn't know what sounded good. I mean, I probably like it doesn't sound. I don't know. I don't know. And I remember, I'll never forget this one time. This is a funny story. So I had worked really hard on editing my work, and I got my family together, and I hired this engineer to take the same piece of raw audio and engineer it themselves, and I engineered mine, and I had them do a like a blind test to see which one they liked more, and I listened to his and I listened to mine. And I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna pick mine. All of them picked the engineer, the other guy, and they're like, that one just sounds so much better. I'm like, no, you don't, no, you're not. It's this one. No, no, we like the engineer. I'm like, I'm done. I can't even. I don't understand it. What the heck? And so like
Kendra.
that was early on. That was like my first year or so because you work hard, but I mean, you need somehow to get feedback that's accurate. So then I realized again, okay, I need more work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These people weren't out to get me or make me feel bad. They just were honest about it, what it was, because I didn't give them any
So
inclination which one was which, right? It was
Mm.
just like a blind hearing. So, anyways, it's just I remember that. I remember that specifically. I thought,
Oh
"Oy."
no.
I'll tell you the one that did it
Oh.
for me. My early start in voiceover because I came out of radio and I spent so much time doing radio imaging. And most people have no clue what imaging is. Like outside of
Mm,
radio, it is a underappreciated lost art form where people are like, what is this? It's just a bunch of noise and it's kind of crude and it's loud and it's obnoxious, right? And so I used to play my imaging demo for people because I was just so proud of what it is. And yeah, if you like apples to apples, like if you stack it up against other imaging demos, sure, it was amazing. It was a banger. But people in the commercial industry and in narration, I could just see their faces like kind of transform into like a what the fuck was that? Like you could just and I would crumble, like, right? It would be so devastating to me. It took a while for me to understand, oh, they don't even know what this is. And it's so out of their scope of, they don't even know how to critique it or where to begin with this because it's so out there compared to what they're used to.
Mm.
But that was, yeah, that was a hard one for me because I was always like, I don't understand why people don't like it. Yeah.
All right, Kat, you must have a story.
Mm.
You have to have a
One
story.
story.
I mean, because you do a lot of stage work too, or film, don't you? I mean, as
Yeah,
well.
film,
Does
stage.
everything.
Yeah, pretty
And
much.
she flies.
Try.
And she flies.
Mhm.
Um,
Put you on the
what
spot.
you have put me on spot. Nothing comes to mind
That's okay. You can
apart
think.
from actually no. Right, this isn't like necessarily. Actually, no. This was feedback. So the first time I produced an audiobook for ACX, it was in my first year of being a voice actor, and you know what ACX is like, right? I
Mm,
still had a USB microphone. It was like it was not good. It was the performance was fine, but the audio was like I look back at it now and I just go, I can't believe like how, why though? Why is that still on the internet? Thank you for that forever and ever. So I remember like trying to like figure it all out and like it's really like crackly and like I don't know, just sounding like really gnarly. And the author comes back to me and she has no clue about audio editing, but she was like, yeah, I think we're really going to need to work on this because there's some static in the background that is just it's really distracting and oh my God, it's awful. I mean, you can go and look it up. It's on Audible. It's terrible. It's not great. It's honestly, truly, probably the most cringeworthy moment of my entire voice career. But from that, I learned how to actually audio edit, and now I can do it no problem, and it's not an issue. But had I not have gone through that experience, I wouldn't have. There was no
yeah.
way I would have, because I was learning. I mean, RMS and all the different like
Mhm.
terms. There's so many different terms within the industry that when you're just starting out, especially because I just came as a performer going into voice acting, the transition to find out about all the technical side of it was huge.
Mm.
But I think that job helped me figure it out. But it was kind of like because I thought, oh, this sounds fine, this sounds fine. I sent it to the author, and she was like, absolutely not. I was like, oh.
It is so funny. So with all of this, moving into what we said we were going to kind of talk about in the beginning is to the confidence. So we'll kind of maybe we'll end on confidence. So I don't know, from what I heard, like especially from all of our stories too, is to me, I think confidence is built through experience, trying over and over again, um, being able to put yourself out there, knowing that it's okay. You're going to make silly mistakes. There's going to be cringeworthy moments. There's going to be things, but confidence comes knowing, right, that you can do it. Is going to happen. You're going to be okay, and you can continue do it, and then you're going to have wins. But I think talking about, I want to get y'all's take on, because building that confidence really makes important. I know for me, one thing I did that helped me a lot. I don't recommend this for everybody, but I early on I told myself I wanted to be that guy that always had a job. So, because I was looking like I always had a job in the queue. Like that was never going to be the guy because there was always, so many people were like, I need work. There's no work. I'm not getting work. I didn't want to be that guy. I'm like, I'm always going to have a job. I want to be that guy who says I always got a job. Now, early on, that meant I took some jobs that were not the best paying, but I always wanted to have a job. And I do think for me, it did help build my confidence because I thought even though it might have been royalty share type situations, I did feel like, well, someone out there likes me enough to hire me. So if someone does, maybe the next person will. And they did. And the next person will. So those small wins are very important. And I try to tell people this. I know so many people out of the gate want to make a lot of money. I get it. But sometimes it's more important to make like to cash in on the confidence, if that makes sense. Like to pay your confidence meter first,
Mm,
other than your pocket, because your confidence is what will keep you going, right? That I can do it, that excitement about I'm actually good enough for this. Because if you don't have that, because I can't imagine, and I've worked with a few, and God bless them, but I can't imagine doing this for years and not get your first job yet, or not being, not doing it because you're waiting for that perfect moment or whatever. That's a confidence killer.
hmm
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think for
That's just
me,
me. That was me. I mean, it might be totally different for you all.
yeah. My confidence personally comes from my reason why. Why am I doing this? What's
That's
my reason behind it? Why does it matter what I'm doing? What's my intention? And not every job is going to align with why I want to personally do it. Sometimes I just want to have the money.
mm,
And I got the job, so I'm taking it, right? But for me, what keeps my confidence up is actually taking the emphasis off of myself and putting it onto others. So my intention for doing my job is to help stories be told and to help
mm.
people feel seen and heard, whether that be on screen or audibly. That's why I do what I do, and so I take myself out of it, and that gives me confidence.
I was just laughing because your answer is so much better than mine. I thought I was like killed it, and then you're like, "I'm changing the world with what I do." I'm like, "Yes, you are, Kat. I gotcha." It's good. No,
I'm
no, no. It's
changing the
true.
world.
It's true.
That's okay. Look, I'll be the oddball and the capitalist in the bunch because
Mm,
again, I mainly serve the advertising industry. I mainly serve, the commercial sphere. It's
mhm,
all about money. That's
mm,
it. It's all to me, every bit of confidence, every validation, it is cash in the check. Yeah, it is so this was something that um oh gosh, somebody pointed out to me years ago. They were like, most people dread going to their mailbox because it's full of bills. They're like, you strut to the mailbox because right? It's where the
oh yeah.
checks live.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Have
funny.
you ever
No,
had
I
a
like.
point where that's not happened, though, Gabby? Have you ever had a point where the checks aren't there and you lose your confidence out of interest?
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And how
and
do you get out of that?
it's the next job. It's
Mm.
honestly, it's just the continued hustle. Like I'm a catastrophizer. So I'm the worst because I'm the one who goes right from, oh, it's been a bad week. Oh, the bad week turned into a bad month. Maybe it's a bad year. Like I'll go from like I didn't have a job this week to I'm gonna be homeless in like
Oh,
no
yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
I'm just right, like
Oh my gosh, I'm
worst.
the
Me
same way.
too.
You're
Yeah,
right.
like
You're right.
Yeah.
absolute
Totally.
worst case. Like
Totally.
everything's done. Like my
Yeah.
career
You're a
is
failure.
over.
We
Yeah,
Yeah.
failed.
The
like
world is
Failed at
ending.
life.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get it. I'm
absolutely. But at the same time, like what else do I have to do but get up and do the next audition?
Mm,
So then the next
Yeah.
booking comes around and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'm okay.
that's
It's all right.
Yeah,
hilarious.
I guess I'm okay now. Well, everyone around you is like, there's like destruction. Everyone's making sure you're okay. And you're like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I
And
just
I'm
got to go for a job. And it's like,
Oh my gosh. No,
yeah.
I was making a joke. My wife, God bless her, she's the opposite. So I'll come in and be like, it's over. I've failed everything. And she's like, all right, get a drink, sit down and talk to me about it, and she's on her phone. But she's so experienced with it. I'm like, I've tried so hard. You're gonna be okay. It's all right. I love you. Like she's so just like, oh, he's so dramatic.
Oh,
But you're right.
that
They're
is
dramatic.
adorable. Oh my gosh.
But you're so right, though. I feel like that sometimes,
Oh
definitely.
yeah. I've been talked out of a panic attack or two.
yeah. So that
Yeah.
again,
Mm.
Mhm.
Well, listen, this has been what a fun conversation today, and I think I was trying to figure out a way since we're kind of doing this new format and everything. I love it. We should have like a Friday or like a let's leave with a tip, or no, maybe that's too much. Or let's have like a how do we end our podcast? And you guys use you guys see where I'm doing it live, where you're listening to. So we're on the fly. We're improvisers. So we could have like, what's our tip for the rest of the weekend. I'll go first. I'll just do a tip for the rest of the weekend since we're uh, uh, try the system. Try for the next week saying I'm gonna do 5 actions, and with those actions I want a particular outcome, almost like a scientific method. You have a theory and try it out and see if it works, and if it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, that's okay. We'll try another one the next week. But that's my thing. Put together a small little system to try out this weekend for your voiceover work next week. That's my tip.
Love it.
I like it.
Okay, you're up. You're next.
Okay, so mine is going to be take a few minutes to really, really hone in on knowing yourself as a performer and knowing what makes you unique amongst your competing actors, and try to make the decision to say, I'm going to skip an audition or not audition for something that just isn't a good fit, that doesn't meet that criteria of who I am in the industry.
Nice.
Very nice.
Ooh, you're the
I
last one,
think
Ken.
my tip is gonna be, I kind of want to give two. Okay, the first one is get out and walk in, it doesn't have to necessarily be nature, but if you're in a funk, get out, close the laptop, get out, like talk to someone about it, get it off your chest. And then the second one is find your why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And it can be like Gabby, I want the money. Or it can be like me, and it can be kind of like philosophical and shit. But
Oh yeah,
it's find your why.
I love it.
That's great.
Good tips, you guys. Well, hey, thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate you. Have a wonderful Friday, and you know what? Guess what? We'll be back next Friday.
Yeah.
Well, have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.